Welcome to the Way She Leads podcast, where we integrate strategy, intuition, and real life leadership so that you can create impact with more joy and ease without pushing, proving, or burning yourself out. Hi, I'm Megan Akatu, former corporate leader turned transformational coach, and I help women feel fully alive in their purpose in a way that ripples out through every area of their lives. If you've ever felt like there is a better way, you are not wrong and you are not alone. Each episode brings you conversations with experts and real leaders sharing tangible and holistic practices to help you lead your life in a way that actually feels good, not just looks good on paper. Welcome in. Hi, Julie. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Megan. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited you are here. And today on the podcast is Julie Grimm, who is a personal color consultant and stylist. And she is also an energy healer, and she has done my colors. And so I am excited to bring all of her knowledge and expertise to you today. And Julie, can you give us a little bit more background about you and how you became the Julie of today?
Yes, my pleasure. So I've been doing color analysis for about 2 years now. I came into it because I wanted to understand what are my colors, like how do I look best, how do I shine. I was a business owner and I really wanted to put my best face forward and make that best impression. As well, I paint. So, the premise of color analysis for your wardrobe is the same color theory that you use when painting. So I wanted to understand, okay, how can I take what I know from painting and again, apply it forward to people? But I will say, first and foremost, there was just I want to know for myself what I am. And I went on to get the training and loved it and started to do it then for individuals and just haven't stopped since then.
I love this. Well, I found you through Google, and one of my friends, Sarah Castle, who's actually already been on this podcast, and she had her colors done and was just raving about it. And then it was last Labor Day weekend. I was with my sister and my sister's sister-in-law, and she was talking about just trying to clean out her closet, doesn't know what to wear anymore. And I was like, you know what? We live close together. I'm going to go find a color person, and we're going to just meet up, and we're going to do this, and we're going to go out to lunch. And she was like, great. And then we had the loveliest afternoon. And I will say, since working with you, it does help you clean out your closet. It does. When you go shopping, you're like, I just know exactly where to go. And so it is helpful just in these little things. So I do want to ask more questions about you because I feel like I can name a lot of colors. Like I can see different shades of blues and pinks and I know what they are, but I don't really understand how they go together. And so is that something that you naturally always had, or is that something that you got practice with through painting?
Yeah, it's definitely a skill. It's a skill that you can develop. You're developing an eye for something. I paint actually with a lot of color. My painting is more like abstract, very colorful abstract. Maybe I had that kind of inclination, but when you're making something into a painting, there's a way that you're making it look real. And whether you're doing that from a studied perspective or maybe, a bit intuitively or a mix of both, the painting won't look real unless certain boxes are checked. And color theory is behind those boxes. And so that's where when we apply it to people, there can be something kind of off, or we visually go, there's something not right here. I don't necessarily know what it is, but there isn't harmony. That's the other word that we use when we do color analysis, that we're looking for the harmony within the person, within what they're wearing, within the makeup. And when that harmony is not present, we might not be able to pinpoint what it is, but we understand. So that's true as well for a painting. Even very abstract, colorful pieces can have a harmony. It's not actually just a jumble because that's going to be chaos and that's not going to look good. When we study color theory or when we study color analysis on a person, we're going to start to be able to put language to why something doesn't work and a little bit more of that scientific understanding of why something's not working. And, when I work with individuals, I like to explain as I'm going what I do. I just think it's interesting. Sometimes I can tell I'm overwhelming. I'm like, you don't have to take notes because people will bring out their notepads. And I'm like, no, it's okay. It's okay. You're going to get the summary. But I find that it's helpful because it's also giving them a recipe, which is a bit what you were talking about. That now when they go out shopping, they have a formula. And that formula, again, is coming through color theory so that when they're out in the quote unquote wild shopping, they know naturally what's going to suit them a little bit better. And it's not that it has to identically match the color in their swatch book, because that doesn't happen all the time, but it's giving them a direction to move in. And I find as well that people think it's narrowing me down because it's a color palette. So it's like a set formula. But in fact, I find that it's extremely expansive for people because they try colors they never would have tried
Yeah.
before. You know, a lot of people, they wear black, they wear gray, they wear some white or cream or something
Yeah.
like that, and maybe an olive green or, a navy. We're all a bit trapped. And, we can blame the stores for that because the stores absolutely have been extremely monochromatic the last couple of years. Like the colors are extremely muted. Neutrals are like the new color. The last 2 years, I think the color of the year was a brown, and then this year it was a white. So that just goes to show, people are not necessarily very adventurous with their colors, but part of what the color analysis is doing is helping you expand. Okay, I never would have considered that color before, but now I'm going to try it out and I'm going to see how that actually works on me. And that will usually bring you into new combinations. So the palettes themselves, the colors all go with each other so that when you start to wear your color season, your pants and tops match. You
Yeah.
don't have the weird outlier that doesn't go with anything. But as well, not only do they match each other, they match you.
Yes.
And that's the harmony piece that we're looking at.
So do you have to go to color school? How does this work?
I did, in a sense. Yes, I like that. I did go to color school. So I did a training with a woman who I'm just obsessed with. So it's
Oh,
not that I work with her
yeah.
all the time, but I love what she's doing. Her name's Mariana Marquez, and she does the outfit curator. It was the right time, the right place, the right connections to move me forward. And because I had been running a spiritual business for the last 7 years, although on paper they look identical, they're like polar opposites.
Yes.
So when I put up my little Google ad, I put my name on the door for the office that I was already using for my spiritual work. Boom, it just exploded. And it was actually beyond my wildest dreams. I remember celebrating the first 2 clients I had. And then all of a sudden, I was
Yeah.
having tons and tons of clients. And I think that happens when we really start to embrace a piece of our purpose. It's not to say that it's not hard, because it's always going to be hard, but there is a magic that happens. There is sort of like a frequency that we can tap into. And so the name of my business is Joyful Color Analysis. That was really a huge motivation for me, was joy.
Yeah.
My own expression of joy, which definitely is an embrace of color and bringing that joy to other people.
Yes. Well, even when you were talking about the neutrals, I remember saying this to you in our appointment because you started with asking, what are some of the colors you typically wear? And I said, I actually do wear a lot of bright colors. And though I feel like a 12-year-old because everyone else is wearing like blacks and grays and whites and they look really put together. But I'm wearing electric blue now. I wear a lot of bright pinks, a lot of bright blues, but I was like, but I feel like a kid. And then you then went on to explain that these bright colors are actually what I'm meant to be wearing. And so now I just know that I'm supposed to. So I still wear them. And now I just wear them much more proudly than feeling like a 12-year-old. So that alone was very helpful for me.
I love that. And I think part of that too, unfortunately, is like the New England mentality.
Yeah.
Because I've worked with other people and I joke, again, my teacher is from Brazil. She lives in Miami.
Yeah.
Culturally, they're
Yes.
wearing the brights.
Yes.
Whereas I do find here in Boston, if you are a brighter season, especially, it's kind of like permission slip, keep going,
Yeah.
validation, because unfortunately, most of us are wearing black and,
Yeah.
hiding.
Yes. Well, and it is easier. I was on a girls' trip in February and we were in this little boutique and the first half of the store was all pastels. And I was like, nope, go into the back where the darker colors are. And it is just more efficient. Instead of like, oh, I like this powder blue. It's pretty. And I'm like, I can see that it's pretty and I know that it's not for me. And I'm going to keep going to a different part of the store. I just find it supportive. Okay, I know what works. And let me just concentrate on trying on these 5 things instead of the 20 things that maybe my eye would catch.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it saves you time, saves you energy, saves you returning clothing that just you
That's
really
my
wanted
favorite.
to make work and it's not working.
Yeah. What can you explain a little bit more about the different seasons to give people an understanding of all the variations that there are?
Yeah, I'd love to. And I'm going to say some words. It's about color. And sometimes if people haven't really looked at color, they're going to be like, well, what's the difference? And so go check it out online because of course color's visual, but basically one aspect that we're looking at different dimensions. One is dark versus light. So dark colors are going to be leaning more to the dark black. Light colors have more white in them. Okay, so that's one spectrum. You can see a black and white painting. Painting doesn't need color for us to visually understand what's happening. We can just see shades of gray is
Yeah.
enough information for something to look real. So
Yes.
dark to light is a very important dimension that if we've missed it, if I'm a light season and I'm always in dark clothes, there's going to be something off. And if I'm a dark season, I'm always in light clothes, there's going to be something off. So there's dark to light. There's bright to soft. Okay, so this is where sometimes people get confused because you can have a bright dark color like the cobalt blue that you're wearing,
Yeah.
but as well you can have a bright light color like a candy pink.
Right. Okay.
So bright, it's not interchangeable with dark to light. It's totally separate.
Mm-hmm.
So you have bright to soft or muted. You can have a muted dark color that's like a deep charcoal gray, or you can have a muted light color like a dusty rose. So those all exist. Bright, another word for it is saturated. So a very intense color. The other way I describe it, it's not been mixed with anything. Whereas a soft color, it's always been mixed with something else, whether that be like a gray, maybe a brown tone. There's something muting the intensity of the color. And then finally, cool to warm. So that does now interact with the undertone of the person. So we all have an undertone, which is not the color of our skin, but the color just under. So our undertone can be warm, cool, or neutral.
Mm-hmm.
People with a neutral undertone, their undertone is not dominant, meaning, so cool is leaning blue, warm is leaning orange. Neutral people can really go both ways. That's not the key ingredient for them. Extremely cool toned people, they're not going to look good in orange. They're going to be blues, purples, blue greens, teals, that kind of world. Extremely warm tone people are going to be oranges, reds, gold and yellows, things like that. So all of those things combined, every aspect of that, we get a dial for each person. And it really is a spectrum. So people fall within different points within that. And based on where they fall, that's how we get their season. So for example, autumn is dark, it's muted, and it's warm toned.
Mm-hmm.
So it has those three components. Winter is bright, it's cool, and it's dark.
That's me.
And there we go. And it has those three components. And so that's how we sort of add together all the pieces to discover what your season is.
Beautiful. And what I remember from that experience is you are extremely efficient. And I'm assuming that's because you can see the color so clearly. You're just like, nope, nope, yes, right. You move through things quickly. Did you always see color, like the variations and undertones? Did you always have that talent?
I think, again, I've always loved color. So maybe subconsciously, and because I paint quite a lot, I was always analyzing it. But I definitely have blind spots. And so I remember the bright was a hard thing to see. I'm a very muted season. Bright colors don't suit me at all. So to develop the eye, I actually remember I was, again, in my dreams, I was having like night after night dream analyzing bright people.
Oh,
Like it
okay.
was almost like my brain was like recalibrating brightness so that I could see it better. But yeah, it's absolutely something you can train. It's an eye that you can develop. It does take doing it again and again and again. As I was taking this training for my color school, as you called it, actually in tandem, I was doing a color painting class, color theory painting class, where the entirety of the class was making different palettes. We were mixing colors together to create new colors. And so everything that we were doing was, okay, I see this color. How can I replicate it? What's actually within the color, which is related to what we're talking about here. And from that experience as well, it was developing my eye of like, okay, that's too chalky. I've added too much white. So how do I make it lighter without adding white? What do I need to do here? Yeah, and that's what artists are doing because they're mixing colors to create, again, a visual that looks realistic, even if it's not a realistic painting, even if it's abstract, there has to be color theory applied, or else it's going to read as something's wrong.
Right. Yes. Well, one of the biggest upgrades I also got from you was around lipstick colors. I actually never really wore lipstick because I thought every single one of them looked terrible on me. And I think mine were just too brown. They were too neutral. And so when you told me like, oh, you lean cool, like put more blue, like bluey reds, I was like, and now I have no problem. No
Look at
problem
that.
finding lipstick. And you spent 3 minutes on that. It was like all I needed to be like, okay. And now it just makes it easier. And especially because I spend so much time on camera. When I'm out in the real world, I don't actually really worry about lipstick ever. But when I'm on camera, I do because I feel like it just defines my face more.
Absolutely. It's like an instant upgrade. I actually have a secret passion for lipstick. Maybe it's not secret. Like I actually have a personal love for like finding, okay, I think this is this is your nude, because every person has a different nude. Like this nude lip, if you've had trouble finding a nude lip, it's probably because you've been looking in the wrong direction. Certain people need like a darker nude. Certain people need more brown, more cool, more warm. And it's like this special dial of all these little facets. So I actually love that because we can wear our colors. Obviously, that's amazing. But as well, we can bring it into the face through, for example, lip or cheek or even hair color. And I agree. I think lipstick is a really easy way to elevate and bring to the next level. And, if you're not a bright season and you're wearing the bright reds, you're going to look like you stole your mom's lipstick. But sometimes people need the validation. No, you can wear the bright red. It doesn't look bad on you. Like, absolutely embrace that. So yeah, I love that part of it.
So fun. So fun. Well, even maybe crossing both of your worlds, I know that you had said when we were together that there's even energy behind particular colors. Can you explain to us what some of these energies are around?
Okay, I'll do my best. I'll do my best. So there's actually Wassily Kandinsky, if you know him. He's an abstract landscape painter. And so I study within a spiritual lineage, and he also was initiated into this lineage when, in the 1900s as he was painting. And he wrote a book on the energy of color. And he actually paired color with the sounds from different instruments.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So color is a vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're even mathematically, that's true, right?
Right.
Mathematically, the colors they're waves. They have a wavelength, and that wavelength is telling us there's like a mathematical sentence that we could write that would express, okay, that's this color yellow as my eye is perceiving it. And so fascinatingly, as we mix colors together, we're in a sense modulating or changing that frequency. So you could imagine the clothing that you wear, it can shift your frequency as well. That's why I always joke, I'm not the color police. Like, I'm here to tell you what's most harmonious with you. But if you're super drawn to a color, please, by all means, wear it, because there's probably something within that color that maybe you need. Maybe like an upliftment or a piece of the frequency. So blue in general is more of a calming color, whereas red is richer, almost like more passionate, more fiery, has a bit more energy to it. Again, from his book, Wassily Kandinsky, he talks about red and green, which is interesting because people are often red and green colorblind, meaning that they mix the two. He says red and green have really similar energies, except for red is the external radiant of that energy, and green is the unmoving frequency of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So red is like radiant expression, whereas green is almost like the inward.
Wow. Okay, that's fascinating.
He talks about yellow as like uplifting into the heavens, blue cooling, things like that. And he'll go on to link it like red is a deep cello note for him, which I just find so interesting because there is absolutely, again, if we look at sound again has a frequency, has a wavelength. We talk about things like sacred geometry. I teach a sacred geometry class, which is looking at, again, harmony, but sacred meaning uplifting the soul. So we're looking at how the frequencies around us actually uplift our soul, whether through color, through art, through the geometries of art, like Da Vinci actually used this quite a lot intentionally in his work, but a lot of musicians also use this in their work. Like Bach's music has a lot of sacred geometry in terms of the jumps to different octaves and the way that notes are actually working together. So if we were to like draw a mathematical equation of his
Right.
music, it would have a lot of harmony in it. And that is, again, what's behind why we find it uplifting, why I feel better after listening to that song. And I always kind of joke, but it's not, sadly, not really a joke, that a lot of modern music, if we were to do the same, we wouldn't really find the sacred geometry present. Architects used sacred geometry. The Vitruvian Man by Da Vinci is based on Vitruvius. So Vitruvius is an architect from ancient Greece, but he studied sacred geometry. And so he had three main keys for architecture. It needed to have utility. That makes sense. It needed to be functional. But as well, it needed to be beautiful. That was a key. He had three, only three. It needed to be functional, it needed to be beautiful, and it needed to be durable.
Wow. Okay.
And I mean, now we still have these temples from ancient Greece, right? And they're still beautiful and they're iconic because they were based on these sacred geometric principles of harmony, of uplifting the spirit, uplifting the soul. And in a sense, we can do the same with fashion. We can do the same with beauty, with our self-expression, what's going to uplift me. But then as well, when people meet me, they're going to feel that harmony. And it's not about having the perfect body at all, right? It's about, again, that harmony within how you present. And so I just find that really fascinating because, of course, it all ties together.
Love that. What do you hear back from your clients after they've had color analysis? What becomes possible for them?
A lot of people tell me it was life-changing, which it's so funny because I'm a spiritual guide. I do energy healing. And the color for me, again, that's a joyful piece. I actually had a son come because he said his mom not only changed so much, but to him, he was like, and now she actually is stylish.
That's so sweet.
And so her 20-year-old son who lives in LA, but he was home from school, came because he was inspired by how much change his mom had made from wearing her colors. Oftentimes people feel younger, but more youthful. They start to realize that their colors were draining them. I had a young mom who was just wearing the totally wrong foundation. And she was like, oh my gosh, I've been kind of thinking, do I need to do eye filler or something like that? Because her dark shadows were so strong, but it was like, no, you're just wearing the wrong foundation.
Yeah. Well, I love how your energy work, it's really working on those internal systems. And then the color is the external manifestation of, oh, and now I feel so much more authentic. And here's my authenticity shining through.
Yeah, I love that. It does. It changes your mood, and other people will see that, say, oh my gosh, this looks so good on you. What have you done? As well, that piece where everything goes with each other, you're going to look more put together on the regular, and people will notice.
Yes. Yes. Can I ask you a few quick fire questions?
Sure.
All right. What does feminine leadership mean to you?
So feminine leadership, I think, is very natural, actually. As women, we are natural leaders. For us, the problem isn't how can I have more authority? It's more, how can I step into the authority that I already have from a place that doesn't sacrifice who I am. We actually have a lot of power and impact as a woman. So we don't need to go reach and grab it from somebody else. What we need to do is to accept that we make a difference. When we enter a room, we shift it. If you or I or any woman were to enter a room like all men, they were having a meeting or something, they'd all go, who's that? What's happening? What's gone on? Because our presence brings with it a certain energy. And so we need to accept that. And rather than fighting somebody else to regain the power we feel that we've lost, we simply need to realize we already have the power and start to use it. And what does that mean to start to use it? Each of us is going to be slightly different. Feminine leadership for woman to woman is not going to be the same. But in general, we are the influence of the mother, where we can lead from a nurturing and gentle space and inspire people to greater heights. We can be, of course, assertive, but we don't have to be domineering in that. Again, leadership, we're going to have different styles of leadership, but ultimately, the leader, we want to empower those beneath us and help them to shine. That's the main point of the leader, is the leader is going to look freaking amazing because they've made everybody below them amazing. And they
Yeah.
found that sweet spot of, okay, this is where you shine. This is how you shine. This is how you shine. And through that, now the team has been totally up leveled. And, in a sense, mom does that with her
Mhm.
family.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So that for me is kind of like the core essence of feminine leadership. And that's what I've seen within myself and with other people that I work with as well, that it's not so much, I have to get the power, I have to get the authority, I have to get the leadership. It's actually, how do I turn it on
Yeah.
more?
Yeah.
What's already there within me.
I knew you would have a really deep answer. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. What is the Julie secret sauce?
There's always joy to be found.
Yeah.
Through what perspective are we looking at things?
Yes.
But we can find a deeper sense of gratitude even for the hard moments.
I love it. What are you reading or listening to right now?
So I'm actually reading a book about dream analysis. As
Yeah.
you may have noticed, I talked quite a bit about
Yeah.
dreams. It's called Dream Symbolism,
Okay.
and it's by Manly P. Hall.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Julie.
Thank you, Megan. It was so wonderful to chat with you.
Thank you so much for listening today. I would really, really appreciate it if you left comments and sent in a review. This really helps me understand what resonated with you so I can continue to create more episodes that speak to you. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.